Hey folks, your OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the 1More MK802 Bluetooth over-the-ear cell headphones. These sell for about $150 on 1More and Amazon sites, and it comes in two colors, a red version and a blue variant. It's made out of this aluminum alloy, and of course to address the concern that more and more flagship phones and devices no longer have a traditional 3.5mm jack, now we see a wireless variant of headphones by 1More. You can also plug in the traditional 3.5mm auxiliary cable and use these as wired headsets if you want to, but of course that Bluetooth option is quite compelling when you're using them on the go. So they have aptX certification. That means that there isn't that much static and it sounds still quite clean in that wireless Bluetooth mode. And again, you have access to a few controls including volume and answer reject phone calls directly on the front of the unit, since it does have a microphone built in. You can see here that it does have a programmable app as well if you want to change and tweak the sound signature of these headphones, working with iOS and Android. These have 3 levels of bass that you can adjust, and since they have an over-the-ear style nature, they're already quite noise isolating despite not being active noise cancelling. And you can see that it's the cups that moves up and down vertically to adjust the positioning of the headphones as opposed to being the band that moves, similar to some recent headphones that we've checked out. Looking on the back here, some basic info about the sound signature, about the drivers and the specifications. Let's take a closer look at what's in the packaging. Tearing things open, we can also see that in terms of specifications, these have a 20 to 20,000 Hz frequency range, and it also uses Bluetooth version 4.1. The wire, if you choose to use it, is 1.2 meters long, so these are all very standard specs for a headset of this price range and caliber. So this is what the box is like. There's a company's logo embedded on the front once again. The wire itself also comes with an inline remote if you choose to use it. And inside, there are the headphones lying right on top. There's even a sticker, more commonly found on clothing than on audio devices, that tells you a bit more about these, how to charge them, using a standard micro USB port on the bottom here, we'll take a closer look at in a second, before using it with Bluetooth. On the top here, there are the accessories located in this little book, and we have all the contents stacked into one place this time. There is a pouch with the 1More logo. It's a microfiber soft pouch. There's also the standard stickers, the pamphlets, the wire, in addition to the micro USB charging cable, and more detailed instruction manuals that documents the specifications of these headphones. Taking a closer look at the design of the headphones first, what we like is the ergonomic shape of the headband, especially since it curves outwards just a little bit. That means if you wear glasses, you can still comfortably wear these without the glasses pinching towards your face just by popping them on. So even if you're listening to music for a few hours at the same time, they still remain quite comfortable. The headband itself is slightly more stiff and has more of a rubbery texture with the company's logo on the bottom, whereas these are a bit more cushioned and they, again, will adhere to the shape of your ears when you pop them on. One thing about over-the-ear cell headphones in general is that because they are slightly larger, they can get a little warm if you're wearing them for long periods of time during the summer. So that is something to quickly point out just as a general category misnomer. Inside we have access to the left and right channel labels, and on the sides, again, we can swivel these to get a more comfortable position on the arms, and this works pretty well. You get a nice amount of adjustability with the positioning of each cup, so they fit over your ears without too many problems. You can see a small cable on the side that tugs along as well as you move the positioning of the cup and swivel it around. On the bottom here, there's access to the aforementioned micro USB port for charging. You'll notice that it's not covered up, since this is mostly meant for casual listening at home as opposed to being super rugged, so it's not waterproof. The other side features the optional auxiliary input cable, which we have plugged in, and the other side also features the controls for power, for volume controls, and talk and end for playing pause your music and answering and rejecting phone calls. There's also access again to the inline remote control with the optional cable. You can see that the cable here is very well constructed out of a thick, durable rubber. Even though it isn't a flat rubber material, it still doesn't tangle too easily just because the rubber here is actually quite premium and thick. The controls here are a little bit thin, as you can see from the inline remote. However, they are fairly tactile and responsive, and you can definitely discern them just by running your finger across. The center key here acts as the play pause key or reject a phone call. You can double tap app. There's also volume controls on the sides that you can access. The back also features an additional microphone for answering phone calls when connected to a phone without using the one built into the headset directly. So this one is 1.2 meters long, and the other side just features a traditional gold-plated 3.5mm jack. So next, let's take a closer look at the app. The app, which is just designed by 1More, it's called the, again, 1More Assistant, and we can just tap on this. It's a free download in the Google Play Store or the iOS Store, and there are a few features that they're advertising. One function is a safety mode, so if you're using these for kids, if you don't want the volume to exceed a certain volume or a certain decibel, you can limit that, and it will be intelligently sorting through the volume controls as you play back YouTube or your own music. So that's a nice feature. Another function is called Smart Burn In. It's not like, back in the day you had to burn your own CDs or DVDs. It's not permanent, but it optimizes the sound signature that you would want for listening to a specific piece of music for a short duration of time. So once you have it plugged into the phone, you can, quote, burn in a sound, which is also, again, quite unique. You can see that the interface here is very well designed. If I actually exit out of this completely and then reopen the app, it has this pretty nice transition and flashy animation. After a few seconds, it's going to boot up. You can tap on play to play back your music or select a function. Selecting on the question mark gives you a bit of information about what a specific function does in the app, and you can see it has this leather background, which again kind of fits the audiophile grade and demographic that 1More is going for with their current line of products. On the side, there's a tab that opens up for connecting using Bluetooth. Bluetooth version 4.1 has a connection range of 10 meters or 33 feet, and in our testing that was about right. We could actually get a little bit further than 10 meters, and the connection still remained pretty tight with the phone, with not too much static or distortion in between. Of course, if you want the best audio experience, I would still recommend plugging in the cable when possible, because that's true audiophile grade sound comes from a non-wireless source, and you can hear a bit more of differentiation. There's a bit more clarity in the sound, but the Bluetooth mode still works well enough, and especially if you have a new flagship phone that doesn't have a traditional headphone port, this is a good fit. And obviously, being wireless also gives you more freedom to move about, to exercise as you are watching a film or listening to music. So here we can also scan, visit iMore store, take a look at the version and the firmware, and some basic status like that. On the side here, there's a library to look through the music stored on your phone locally. Of course, you can also connect it and then exit it up and go to YouTube or another audio player once the Bluetooth is synced. So everything works pretty well. It's a very simple app, but gives you a few smart features that are well managed and well organized. Fully charging up this headphone takes about 2.5 hours to complete. Afterwards, you get roughly 15 hours of continuous audio playback before you need to recharge it again. Answering phone calls and using the microphone only will last you about 25 hours. So pretty interesting. When it comes to the audio quality of the microphone, it's not a noise-canceling mic, which means that if you're outdoors in super loud environments, it still picks up the background noise just a tad. It's also not active noise canceling in the sense that if you're near an airport, you can still kind of hear engine sounds slightly leak in, even though it's already quite noise isolating by the over-ear design of these headphones. Regardless, it works pretty well for answering phone calls, even though it's not the most advanced Bluetooth headset per se. When it comes to the audio experience, they also perform quite well. They have 40mm drivers, they get very loud, they're clean sounding, they're rich, and they pack a punch in the lower frequency. So especially if you're a bass head, you're listening to music that has a lot of drum beats, perhaps EDM music, perhaps action or adventure films, you really appreciate that extra volume that packs into these drivers, and it gets, again, quite loud. You can turn up the volume a lot. There is a slight amplifier, I believe, on here that allows you to do so. Or alternatively, of course, you can also limit the volume using the smart app if you want to do that when giving this to a kid. Again, the durability here seems quite strong. The frame here is made out of plastic. However, the headphone part has some aluminum and metal accents on the side, which makes it a bit more premium feeling. Overall, I understand why they went for a more plasticky build, because these are pretty large, and if you're wearing these on the go, you don't want them to be super heavy, and because they chose more plastic and rubber components, it still feels reasonably lightweight, again, if you're listening to music for hours on a single go. Otherwise, again, they are very clean sounding for Bluetooth headphones. Even in the Bluetooth mode, I was fairly impressed. Of course, when you plug in the wire, that's where the best audio experience can be heard. And in that sense, I think that they perform quite well. They're definitely not high-res audio per se, and they're not, the top-of-the-line model by 1More. This is more of a casual listening, more of an all-round pair of headphones that you would want to throw with you when traveling. So the audio experience is quite pleasing at this price point. They create a realistic sound, and for 150 bucks, really you're paying for a great design and more customization that you get from the typical Bluetooth headset, with the ability to fine-tune the amount of bass that you want in your music, with an app that can intelligently burn in a specific sound, and extremely fast and easy pairing. This is just very well made. The sound is clean, it's crisp, it's dynamic, and again, it creates a very good lower frequency response, so if you're listening to music with heavy bass, you'll be pleased. You can check out more details about these in our official written review, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. These have been the 1More over-the-ear style wireless Bluetooth headphones.